You saw a spider in your bathroom this week. Maybe just the shadow of one. Your heart rate spiked before your brain even finished processing what it was looking at. Same thing with snakes. Even a picture of one on a screen. Even a rubber toy version at a store. That reaction isn't learned. It's ancient. Older than agriculture. Older than language. Older probably than humans themselves. So here's the real question. Why are spiders and snakes specifically so terrifying when so many other things are technically more dangerous? Let's go back, way back, before primates were even primates. Our earliest ancestors lived in environments packed with venomous threats. Snakes existed long before mammals did. Some researchers estimate snakes have been around for roughly 100 million years. Mammals showed up later. Primates later still. Which means our ancestors evolved directly alongside creatures that could kill them fast, quietly, and often without warning. Think about that. Snakes had millions of years to become predators. We had millions of years to learn to fear them. Researchers studying primate behavior have proposed something called the snake detection theory, the idea that early primate brains evolved specialized visual processing specifically tuned to spot snake-like shapes. Not spiders yet, just snakes first. Studies using primates like macaques have shown that certain neurons in the brain respond unusually fast to snake images, faster than to many other stimuli. That's not a coincidence. That's a hardwired alarm system. Here's what makes this so important. This fear might not just be a human quirk. It might be one of the oldest survival mechanisms in the entire primate family tree. Think about that. You may share this exact fear with ancestors who lived tens of millions of years before humans existed. Now let's talk about spiders specifically, because the story shifts here. Unlike snakes, spiders don't hunt primates the way predators typically do. Most spider species are far too small to pose any real threat to something the size of a human. So why the intense fear? Researchers studying evolutionary psychology suggest something called prepared learning. The idea that humans are biologically primed to fear certain things faster and more strongly than others, even without direct experience. Experiments have shown that people, including young children, tend to detect spider and snake images faster than neutral objects like flowers or mushrooms, even in mixed visual arrays. Faster detection. Faster fear. Here's the twist, though. Some researchers argue this isn't really about all spiders. It's specifically tied to venomous species that existed in the environments where early humans evolved. In parts of Africa, where early human evolution took place, some spider and scorpion species carried genuinely dangerous venom. A brain that treated all spider-like shapes with instant suspicion wasn't being irrational. It was playing the odds. Better safe every single time. Think about that. Your fear of a completely harmless house spider might be a leftover safety margin built for creatures your ancestors actually needed to avoid. Let's jump forward now, because this fear didn't stay purely biological for long. Once language developed, humans could do something evolution alone couldn't. They could pass warnings down verbally without needing personal experience. Anthropologists studying oral traditions across multiple continents have noted that snake-related myths appear with striking consistency across cultures that had no historical contact with each other. Ancient Mesopotamian texts reference serpents as symbols of danger and chaos. Egyptian mythology features cobras prominently, tied to both protection and lethal power. Indigenous traditions across the Americas frequently cast snakes as tricksters or guardians of the underworld. Different languages, different continents, same core idea. Snakes mean danger. Here's what makes this even bigger than biology. That fear got reinforced socially, generation after generation, through story instead of direct experience. A child raised in a farming village thousands of miles from where humans first evolved could still inherit that exact same instinctive caution just from a story told at night. Think about that. Fear doesn't just live in genes. It lives in language, too. Now here's the pivot that reframes everything. If this fear is so ancient and so useful, why do most modern humans, especially in cities, almost never encounter dangerous snakes or spiders at all? Here's the problem. Evolution doesn't move fast enough to notice that. Your brain doesn't know you live in an apartment. It doesn't know most house spiders are harmless. It's still running software built for a world where the wrong shape moving in your peripheral vision could genuinely end your life. Researchers studying phobia development have found that specific fears, particularly snake and spider phobias, are among the most common in humans worldwide, even in populations where dangerous species are essentially non-existent. That's the mismatch, an ancient alarm going off in a world that mostly stopped needing it. Here's something genuinely fascinating. Some studies using infants have found that babies as young as a few months old show heightened attention, though not necessarily full fear, toward images of snakes compared to other shapes. Fear itself often develops slightly later, shaped by both instinct and experience. But the early attentional bias appears remarkably fast. Think about that. Before a baby can even crawl, its brain may already be quietly on alert for a shape it's never once encountered in real life. Let's raise the stakes further, because this isn't just about individual fear anymore. Some researchers argue that this deep-seated caution towards snakes may have shaped broader aspects of primate and eventually human visual attention systems overall. In other words, our ability to rapidly notice small, fast-moving, or camouflaged objects in our environment, useful for far more than just avoiding snakes, may be partly a byproduct of this ancient threat detection system. That's a wild thought. A fear of snakes might have helped shape how carefully humans learn to watch the world at all. Here's another angle worth sitting with. Modern psychological treatments for specific phobias, including snake and spider phobias, often rely on gradual exposure therapy, slowly and safely reintroducing the feared object under controlled conditions. Researchers studying this treatment approach have found it to be one of the most effective methods for reducing phobic responses over time. Which means this ancient fear, as deeply wired as it is, isn't fixed. It can be gently recalibrated. Think about that. A survival instinct older than humanity itself can still be gently retrained by a calm room and a very patient therapist. Here's what makes this genuinely important on a bigger scale. This fear reveals something fundamental about how human brains work. We're not building fear from scratch every generation, We're inheriting ancient threat detection systems, then layering culture, language, and personal experience directly on top of them. Your specific fear of spiders might come from a story your grandmother told you, but the underlying wiring that made that story so effective? That's millions of years old. Here's a specific, almost strange detail worth knowing. Some researchers have noted that people tend to rate images of spiders and snakes as more unpleasant, even when shown for extremely brief durations, sometimes fractions of a second, too short for full conscious processing. Your brain is reacting to the shape before you've even had time to think about it. That's not overreaction. That's exactly how the system was built to work. Fast first. Think later. So here's the full picture. It starts with snakes existing millions of years before mammals, forcing early primate brains to develop rapid, specialized threat detection. Then, dedicated neural pathways, tuned specifically to snake-like shapes, appearing across the primate family tree. Then, a similar, though more targeted, wariness developing around dangerous spider species in the environments where humans evolved. Then, language arriving, letting fear spread through story instead of direct experience alone. Then, myths across completely disconnected cultures independently landing on the same core warning. Then, modern cities removing most real danger while leaving the ancient alarm system fully intact. Then, infants showing early signs of this same attentional bias before they've had any real-world exposure at all. Which brings us back to you, staring at a shadow on your bathroom floor, heart already racing before you've even confirmed it's really a spider. That reaction isn't irrational. It's not something wrong with you specifically. It's millions of years of ancestors who survived by treating a certain shape with instant, uncompromising suspicion, still fully wired into a body living in a world that mostly stopped requiring it. Being human means carrying around threat detection software older than your entire species, quietly running in the background of an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Half the fear you feel in that split second isn't really about the spider in front of you. It's about every ancestor before you who didn't get a second chance to learn that lesson the hard way. If you're into more of these why humans are like this deep dives, there's a whole channel built around exactly this kind of question.